Hey, it's Stephen Gardner. I have possibly the most fiery interview I've done to date with Vince Everett Ellison. I have a feeling this video might get suppressed, so I'm going to ask a favor. Will you give this video a like and please share it with family and friends and then leave a comment. Now sit back and enjoy. All right, everybody, I have a great show for you today. The man that I'm going to be interviewing was recently on Tucker Carlson and got the second most views to Donald Trump. He has an incredible message for the United States of America, and I feel blessed to be able to have him on the show. Vince Everett Ellison, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Oh, Stephen, it's so good to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so we spoke a little bit beforehand, and man, I'm fired up about this. I just know my community is going to love this, and so thank you again for coming on. Now, you have accused the left of working hard to turn the United States into a Marxist America. I want to better understand two things. When you say the left, do you mean the Democrat Party or just left-leaning progressives? And then second, can you give us some examples of how they're trying to make us a Marxist nation?
Well, thank you so much. When I say the left, I mean the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party to me is the evilest organization in the history of the world. It was a party of slavery from 1800 to 1860. It was a part of the Confederacy from 1860 to 1865. It was a party of Jim Crow for 100 years, from 1865 to 1970. Now they're the party of atheism, Marxism, child murder, no borders, drug trafficking, you name it, they do it. They've always been an evil organization. There's never been a time in the history of America where the Democratic Party had to find a legal way to murder the American people. I mean, through slavery, through abortion, they got to find a way to kill somebody, man, because they're psychopaths. I say in my book that they are a cabal of, that their leadership is nothing more than a cabal of murderers, psychopaths, perverts, and anti-Christian bigots. And all they do is meditate on blood. So when I talk about Marxism, the first tenet of Marxism is like atheism. And of course, you know, the Democratic Party, if you want to try to put prayer in schools, you know what they're going to do, right? They're going to go to court to block it. They're going to vote against it. If you kneel at a football game to protest your government, they'll applaud you. If you kneel at that same football game to pray to Jesus Christ, they want to put you in jail. Any government program, they want to make sure that you cannot praise God in it. I mean, they passed the Equality Act last session. The Equality Act would have made churches give LGBTQ, weddings. If they didn't do it, they would take their tax exemption. They tried to make sure that private Christian schools had to do the same thing, or they were going to take their tax exemption. They want to socialize medicine. They want to control public education of all the children. They want to decide who gets what. They want to decide what car you can drive. They want to decide what stove you can have in your house. They want to decide what foods you can eat. They want to say that they can control the weather. Yeah, they're a bunch of crazy people, and they're Marxists. And we have to do all we can to defeat them.
Yeah. Okay. Can you help me understand this? Because I'll be honest. Up until a couple of years ago, I thought that the Ku Klux Klan was connected to the Republican Party, and I know that there were Republicans, right? Like there was, racism within every party, but how specifically were they connected? Because I was reading things during the presidential election of what good friendships Joe Biden had with members of the Ku Klux Klan. He's that old. Can you help me understand that better?
Yeah, to give you some context, I was raised in Brownsville, Tennessee. I was born on a cotton plantation. My father was a sharecropper. And the most violent Klan faction in the South was the Tennessee Klan. And its Grand Wizard lived in Brownsville, Tennessee. Matter of fact, he's alive right now, still living in Brownsville, Tennessee, as we speak. I've been chased by these people my whole life. My brothers and I have been chased by them, and my father my whole life. They killed my great-grandfather, shot him in the chest, killed him. They ran my father and my grandfather off of the cotton plantation in 1960 when he registered to vote. So yeah, I know all about the Ku Klux Klan. They came about after the Civil War. Matter of fact, they started in Tennessee. The Confederate general by the name of Nathan Bedford Forrest started the first Klan faction in Pulaski, Tennessee in 1866. And they started it because black slaves were free and they wanted to keep them under control. So they knew that black people had these superstitions about ghosts. So they put on these masks and put them on their horses, and they would ride out to whatever black person was trying to do anything in politics, and they would scare them, and they would beat them, they would kill them, they'd hang them, they'd castrate them. And that was how they kept black people under control in the South, and they were part of the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party and the Confederacy was one and the same. So when the Confederacy lost, the Democratic Party still controlled everybody down South, and they wanted to keep control because the black slave was now, because at the end of the Civil War, they had disenfranchised most of the old white Confederates. So the black slave was given the right to vote and own property, and they wanted to make sure that they kept him subjugated. So even now, when you look at the black community and you see that the Democratic Party still wants to disarm them inside of Chicago and in Detroit and in Memphis, wherever you go, it's because of that same concept. They got to keep black people under control. They want to keep the public educational system under government control so that black people can't get an education. They want to destroy the black family so the black man can't protect his wife and his children. They want to make sure that they bring the fentanyl and the drugs in so they can keep the people completely inebriated and under their control. And whatever they do it, they win. John F. Kennedy said, in the 1960s, if you want to talk about communism, he stood in front of the Berlin Wall. He said, if those who want to talk about communism, talk about how good it is, let them come to Berlin. Well, I said, if you want to talk about the Democratic Party, how good it is, let them come to Detroit. Let them come to Chicago. Let them come to LA. Let them come to Memphis, Seattle, Portland. Wherever they rule, it's nothing but graffiti, crime, hatred, dope, fighting, and crime. And they win. And they're not going to stop it because that's how they win.
So then why do these same communities turn around and vote for the same people over and over
Stockholm
again?
Syndrome. It's Stockholm Syndrome. Whenever you take a people and you demoralize them and beat them down, tell them that they're nothing. Have that. My first book was on the Iron Triangle. I worked as a prison officer, and I saw all these black men coming to prison. And I asked the black intelligentsia, I said, why are all these young black men coming to jail? I thought we'd overcome. Well, of course, the old refrain was, evil, rich, white Republicans, they hate black people. Well, I was naive, and I said, really? So I quit my job in the prison, started working down, and I went into the black ghettos and started a nonprofit. And when I got there, I saw something very, very interesting. I saw no rich white Republicans anywhere. You see a leprechaun before you saw one. But what I did see were a lot of black Democrats making a lot of money off of the chaos. And I called them the Iron Triangle. That was my first book. Most black preachers, most black politicians, and most black civil rights workers. And they were conduits between rich white liberals in the Democratic Party and the poor black people living inside the ghettos. And their job was to make sure that black people voted for the Democratic Party by hook or by crook. It was people like Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, NAACP, SELC, James Clyburn, Maxine Waters. Yeah, they care nothing about black people, man. They care about their own selves. They were the iPod version of the house Negro back during slavery times, who stayed in the big house with the master and made sure that the slaves stayed in line. It's the same thing. They are the same party under different management, using different slogans and different words, but the result is the same. Keep black people poor, ignorant, under control, and supporting the Democrat Party, and they do it well.
Yeah, wow, okay. Speaking of this Iron Triangle idea you just mentioned, I've been following the mayor of Chicago, and he just recently did this rally, and in his speech at the rally, he says, we're going to take even more of your tax money to help illegal immigrants be comfortable in Chicago. And they booed him, boo, boo, boo. And he's like, nah, whatever. Why do some of these people use our hard-earned tax money to do more for people that snuck in the country than the hardworking Americans right in their own community?
Brother, it's the great replacement theory. Look, and they didn't hide it for a very long time. The one enemy that all of these leftists have is the WASP, the white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. They hate him. He has always been that enemy. Whether you are LGBTQ, whether you are a Marxist, whether you are a hippie, a dopehead, a communist, an atheist, you all have one common enemy. And all these people make up the Democratic Party. The white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, they say, is our common enemy. We must all come together to defeat him. So the one thing they want to do is get rid of most white people here in America. And I'll say it loud. And they're going to do it by having illegals come over here and taking up all the space and having children. Because right now, they're so convinced, white people in America, that abortion is a right, that we don't even replace each other anymore. I think that the latest polls show that our birth rate is at 1.6. To just replace who we have to have at least 2.0. But it's at 1.6. The nation is dying. And what do they say about abortion? Full speed ahead, more of it, more birth control. And then they say, and let the illegals come in. And I'm amazed that white America doesn't see it or don't care about it, because their main goal is to replace y'all, take you out. And then once you probably get to a certain number, they're probably going to try to kill all of you too. So you better get ready for it.
Well, I think the white community is told that's a crazy conspiracy theory put forward by Tucker Carlson.
Yeah.
You know, he's pushing this replacement theory idea, and he's crazy.
How can they call it a theory when Joe Biden let 8 million illegals come over the border since he's been president? How can they call it a theory when they're giving free abortion? And if a state doesn't allow you to have an abortion, they'll give you free airfare to go to another state to have an abortion. How can they call it a theory when Obamacare, before Obamacare, you couldn't use government funding for abortion? But now, after Obamacare, you can use government funding in Medicaid to get abortion and get birth control. How can they call it a theory when they are pushing this LGBTQ thing, where the children under the age of 25 years old, about 25% of them say that they're gay, and gay people don't have children? Yeah, America's dying in real time, and they want to call it a conspiracy theory when you look at the statistics and they say that you don't ever come back from this death spiral. Hell, man, this is real. Western Europe is dying. Vladimir Putin recognized it and said, we're going to put a stop to this. And they're trying to take him out for it. This is real. And the great replacement theory is on. And just like the Europeans had a great replacement theory when it came to the Native Americans, and it took place, yeah, it's coming back in the same exact way. Illegal immigration across the border, and then they're going to start killing white people, and they're going to start teaching, and they're teaching you also to kill yourselves. And all I can do is ring the alarm and tell you.
Yeah. Wow. Oof. Okay. Last night, Mayor Pete Buttigieg, admitted on CNN that, yeah, life's been harder and more expensive under Biden, but that's because people won't acknowledge everything he's done, the improvements to their lives and to the country, how he's getting inflation down, gas prices down, even though when gas prices were going up, they kept saying an American president has zero effect on the price of gas. I don't see the price of other stuff going down. I don't see the infrastructure being repaired, even though they allocated $1 trillion. Are we being force-fed a load of bullcrap, or am I just like missing something here?
Oh, man, you're right. Look, how do you know a Democrat's lying? His lips are moving. Pete Buttigieg is a pervert and a maniac. Nobody should even put him anywhere near close to a government cabinet position. But, you know, those are the people that Joe Biden like to have around him. He wants to have this cabinet of we want to have a freak show and call it a cabinet. And people around the world are looking at the United States of America and say, the United States of America has lost its mind. Look, this is a party, the Democrat Party, that wants to castrate little boys and call them little girls. Give double mastectomies to little girls and call them little boys. They believe in 9-month abortion. They believe in allowing demented men to go to the bathroom with your wife and your daughter. Demented men to participate in sporting events with your daughter. Demented men to dress as drag queens and go into elementary schools and shake their behinds in your children's faces. This party is an evil institution. They believe in disarming people in war zones, law-abiding citizens. They believe in allowing sex trafficking and human trafficking across the border. In my book, Crime Inc., that came out this month, I compare them to a mafioso family, a crime family, where, like the mafia, who makes their money off hits, where the Democrat Party makes their money off hits, except they call their hit men Planned Parenthood. They give Planned Parenthood $5 million a year, and they commit 1 million murders a year for money. And then they give their campaign contributions to the Democrat Party. The mafia uses the unions to launder their money. Well, the Democrat Party does the same thing. One of the unions they use is the teachers' unions. They give the teachers pay raises. The teachers then gives part of that pay raise to the teachers' union, and the teachers' unions give 98% of all of their hundreds of millions of dollars of campaign contributions to the Democrat Party. The mafia and organized crime are in league with the cartels, who make billions of dollars. Sex trafficking, drug trafficking, human trafficking. Well, the Democratic Party is in league with them too, because all of those cartels have K Street lawyers and K Street lobbyists that give big fundraisers to Washington, D.C., to the Democrat Party. And the Democrat Party then refuses to close that border and allow fentanyl, drug trafficking, sex trafficking to come across that border. The Democratic Party is in league with all of these crimes, and the Crips, the Bloods, because what did they do? They defunded the police, allowing snatch and grabs, laws that say that if you don't shoplift over $1,000, you won't be prosecuted. And right now there are food deserts, and there are stores moving out of San Francisco and Washington, D.C. because people just go in and rob them and the police don't do nothing. Why? Because of the Democrat Party. That's who these people are. Again, an evil institution. And I want all of your viewers to go get Crime Inc. Go on Amazon or go to my website, vinceellison.com, and look at my books, and you'll see how evil this party actually is.
Yeah, I'm definitely linking that down below. I highly recommend it. I want to get that Iron Triangle book as well. So I'm gonna put a link for that one. You're familiar with RFK Jr., correct?
Yes.
Okay. So he recently said that Biden deceived the country by running for president as a moderate Democrat that was then bullied into submission by the far left progressives. And that's why we've been getting so many progressive policies during a moderate Democrat presidential time. Is there any truth to these observations?
Biden has always been progressive in some way or the other. Matter of fact, Biden's just been a political animal. Wherever the political winds were blowing, he was going that way. And the progressive movement in the Democratic Party started around 1972. In the chapter of my first book, not my first book, but the first chapter of Crime Inc. talks about how, like the mafia and the triads and MS-13, the Democratic Party of today had a foreign influence. This is not your mother and your grandmother and your grandfather's Democrat Party. They were just a bunch of rabble, a bunch of ignorant Klansmen. This party today is a sophisticated Marxist communist construct. And let me explain. The civil rights movement was infiltrated by communists in 1956. Martin Luther King Jr., and in my book, Crime Inc., I prove all of this, and also 25 Lies I prove it. Martin Luther King Jr. was recruited by the #1 communist in America by the name of Stanley Levinson. Stanley Levinson, and there's a Netflix movie about this guy right now. Barack Obama and Michelle Obama did it. Bayard Rustin introduced Stanley Levinson to Martin Luther King Jr. Mind you, Stanley Levinson was the #1 communist in America. The Comintern had given the communists and the civil rights movement a specific goal. They said they wanted them to turn the Black community into a replica of the communist bloc, and they did. So Martin Luther King Jr. does this "I Have a Dream" speech, right? People say it's the greatest speech of the 20th century. That speech turned the Declaration of Independence on its head. And let me explain. Okay. Martin Luther King Jr. said in that speech, a line that put a poison pill in the minds of America. And it pains me to say this about Martin Luther King Jr. being a Black man, him being an icon in my family. It pains me, but it's true. King said in that speech, 100 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, the Negro is still not free. That was a lie. I was born free. My freedom is a gift from God. According to Thomas Jefferson and John Locke, my freedom is an unalienable right given to me by God. According to John Locke in his second treatise of government, an unalienable right is irrevocable, non-transferable, and unsellable. Jesus Christ affirmed that when he said that he who the Son has freed is free indeed, and that I came to free you if you are a Christian. All through the New Testament, they talk about how Christianity is freedom when you accept it. However, Martin Luther King Jr. said in that speech that we were not free. 5 times in that speech, he said that we were not free. Even at the end of it, he said, on some certain day, we'll be free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we're free at last. No, I was born free. So he put in the minds of Black America and all America that we had to go to government for our freedom, where before then, we all believed that we had to go to God for our freedom. Our Declaration of Independence said that our freedom was unalienable. It came from God. We used that concept to take down King George, because King George said he was sovereign. We said, no, God is sovereign. So King contradicted Jesus Christ and the Declaration of Independence. He said, they asked him, when will we be satisfied? He said, we will never be satisfied, in the same speech, not until justice rolls down like water and righteousness like a mighty stream. Well, that was a fancy way of saying never. According to the Christian religion, we are supposed to live in a state of perpetual peace and satisfaction. Jesus Christ, when he left to go to heaven, he said, my peace I leave with you. Instead, King said no. He said, we're going to use coercion, which again, the person that uses coercion is one of the 11 people who will not enter the kingdom of heaven. They're extortionists, but they use coercion, sit-ins. I'm going to aggravate you with sit-ins. I'm going to shut you down. I'm going to boycott you. I'm going to go to government, get a law passed, and put a gun in your head to make you do what I want. Where Jesus Christ said, no, you're supposed to change the heart. You don't use government. You don't use the law. Jesus Christ didn't use the Romans to press his Christianity. King was a Christian minister. The law was the last thing he was supposed to use. You know who the first recipient of the Margaret Sanger Award was in 1966? Martin Luther King. Do you know who put the man out clause in welfare so that if the woman was married, she couldn't get any help from government? Martin Luther King. He was excommunicated from the Black church in 1961 and started his own religion. Yeah, read Crime Inc. You'll get it all. All of it is irrefutable. And also get my documentary, Will You Go to Hell for Me? You'll learn things you never learned before about Martin Luther King Jr., the civil rights movement. And then how the communists jumped from the civil rights movement after King died and took over the Democratic Party in 1972. And it's been a Marxist party going that way up until now. Barack Obama made it a reality.
Wow. Yeah, I can't wait to finish this book. The details that you're sharing are like little sizzle reels. You're getting me all excited. Final question for you, Vince. You mentioned that this is a concept I've never thought about or explored, so I need your help with this. But you mentioned how the Democrat Party uses Black Christians and white Christians who should love each other and come together on a common ground of Christ, right? But how they actually use them to divide us, scare us, make us hate each other, even though Christian, right? Skin color shouldn't matter. Can you explain a little bit about how they have infiltrated Christianity to make us hate each other?
Yeah, the Black preachers are the main culprit behind all of that. Back during the civil rights movement, they allowed a lot of white liberals to get involved in the Black church. Should have never allowed that to happen. The Black preacher's job was to take his congregation and make them, get them prepared to live in the presence of Jesus Christ forever. Instead, they allowed all these white liberals to come into the church and make the Black church, which is an oxymoron. There's no Black church, it's just a church. But they made the Black church a political arm of the Democrat Party. Now, the vast majority of Black preachers, maybe about 90% of them, are on the Democrat Party payroll. And they started this apostate ministry called Black Liberation Theology and Prosperity Ministry. And these two apostate religions started telling Black people that Jesus would have identified with Black people because he was oppressed and we was oppressed. He wouldn't have identified with white folks. And then you have Prosperity Ministry that says you're supposed to be with God for money. So what they've done, they've taken the black community and they've taken our religion and they've made it more political than anything else. And that's why we suffer. But these black liberals, these white liberals are the ones that causes this. The black preacher is just a dude. He's an idiot. He's not educated, but he's just an apostate. Just like Jesus dealt with the Pharisees and the Sadducees back in his day. They were in cahoots with the Romans. And the Jews were under the heel of the Roman Empire because the Sadducees and the Pharisees were in cahoots with the Roman government. Matter of fact, they went to the Roman government to get Jesus killed, if you can remember. They didn't kill him, they went to the government. The black preacher, as my father told me when I started getting involved in politics, he said, son, you trust a bootlegger before you trust a black preacher. They are the worst people walking the face of this earth. Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, the whole caboodle. Why do I say that? Well, when Jesus Christ told his disciples, I'll tell you how to spot a false prophet. You'll know a tree by the fruit it bears. He said they're going to come to you as wolves in sheep clothing, but don't listen to what they say or what they do. Watch their results. He said you will not get good fruit from a bad tree, a bad fruit from a good tree. Each tree and its fruit will be after his own. Well, when you look at the black community and the fact that we're at the bottom of every socioeconomic statistic in America, you have to say that the fruit is bad. Fighting, stealing, acting a fool, dope, you name it, killing. The most violent people in America are the people in the black community. We cause over 6% of the crime in the United States of America. If you look at the black community and you say that the fruit is rotten, the tree that it came from had to be rotten, and the tree is the black preacher. He's a liar, he's an apostate, he's an affront to God. And I confront them every chance I get.
Yeah, wow. Oof. Love your boldness and that you back all of this up. Okay, so Crime is out. It is available. Where is the best place to get it? And if people want to follow you, Vince, what is the best way to do that?
They can go to my website, vinceellison.com. That's vinceellison.com. You can go to my website. All my books, my documentary, my blogs are there. If you just want to take a shortcut, just go to amazon.com, put in Vince Ellison books, and it'll show up and you can buy it. It'll be there in 2 days. Or you can just get in your car, drive through your local bookstore. It should be on the shelves. But Crime Inc., 25 Lies, Iron Triangle, my documentary, Will You Go to Hell For Me, will change the way you see politics here in America. It will open your eyes and let you understand that if you are a Christian, and if you are a Jew or a Muslim, and you're voting for the Democratic Party, you are sending your soul to hell. They are an evil institution. Wherever they rule, they kill and destroy people. And we have to stop it.
Yeah. Wow. Gosh, man. Okay. You got me fired up. I'm excited about this. I think the audience is as well. I'm going to put your website down below and a direct link right to Amazon. Vince, thank you so much for coming on. And I appreciate it. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. And happy Thanksgiving to you and happy holidays to all of your viewers. God bless you. And thank you for having me. I really enjoyed myself.